This video is a summary of www.endjuryduty.org. Fellow Americans, jury duty in our country is tyranny, slavery, and injustice. Forcing people against their will is tyranny, not paying people for their work is slavery, and letting incompetent amateurs decide the fates of accused persons is injustice. Jury duty criminalizes good and innocent people whose only offense is quietly minding their own business. The whole purpose of trial by jury is to prevent government from persecuting good and innocent defendants, but jury duty lets government persecute good and innocent jurors instead. The whole purpose of trials is to protect good and innocent people from crime, but jury duty commits crimes against the good and innocent people who serve as jurors. Jury duty commits attempted murder and child endangerment against jurors' critically dependent family members by separating them from the jurors' care. Jury duty commits false imprisonment against jurors by holding them against their will to serve in trials for crimes that they themselves did not commit. Jury duty commits theft against jurors by depriving them of their wages from their real jobs. Jury duty commits assault against jurors by making unbearable physical demands of them. Jury duty even violates our minimum wage and, by sequestering, that is, by imprisoning jurors even at night, our maximum work hours laws. And our statute law code is not the only American legal document that jury duty violates. Our Declaration of Independence says that we have the rights to liberty and pursuit of happiness, but jury duty violates both of these rights. Our Declaration says that we live under government derived from our own consent, but jury duty violates this principle. Our Declaration says that we share our fortunes, but while our judicial officials, who do no real work, are quite well paid, our jurors, who alone do the court's only real work of finding a verdict, are hardly paid. Our Declaration says that we share our honor, but our judges demand that they alone be addressed as your honor in the courtroom, even though honor comes only by sacrifice, and our judges sacrifice nothing to make their court appearances, while our jurors sacrifice everything. Our Constitution says that its whole purpose is to secure our liberty, which means that all the other passages in our Constitution, including those calling for trial by jury, must be implemented in a way that secures our liberty. Our Constitution forbids excessive fines, but $1,500 for shirking jury duty is for some a life sentence of making payments. Our Constitution forbids slavery, but jury duty forces people against their will to work on a job for virtually no pay, and this is slavery. And just as slave drivers have always used the terror of cruelty to keep their slaves in line, so our jury duty slave drivers terrorize the good and innocent people who serve as their juror slaves with the cruelty of their humiliating, patronizing, and excessive punishments. Our judicial officials exercise contempt of court power, which is not mentioned in our Declaration of Independence or Constitution, to punish even good and innocent people, such as jurors, spontaneously, arbitrarily, and inordinately, even though such power violates our Constitution's call for due process of law, as well as our sacred American principles of freedom, democracy, equality, and justice. Our judicial officials hold our jurors to inhuman standards, standards to which our jurors never agreed to be held, and standards to which our judicial officials do not hold themselves. Yet jurors are the only participants in a trial who stand to gain nothing from the trial itself. Jury duty is lose-lose for jurors. People punished as jurors are good and innocent people who at great personal sacrifice step up to do what they believe to be the right thing, yet are unjustly dealt with by tyrants. And people punished for shirking jury duty are good and innocent people who are exercising their rights to liberty and pursuit of happiness. We should not have to beg anyone for permission to lead our own lives, not if we really are self-directing adults and free Americans. Jury duty does not even make a true jury anyway, because a true jury is confident, dedicated, and empowered to seek after the truth, but forced, unpaid, untrained, and terrorized jurors, such as ours, are weak, tired, afraid, indifferent, and grossly incompetent. Just between 1989 and 2012, our juries rendered at least 2,043 false guilty verdicts, not including false innocent verdicts, jailing 873 innocent people an average 11 years, and executing 3 to 5 innocent people. And the false verdicts before 1989 were just as bad as any survey of court decisions in American history reveals. For example, www.classwarcasualties.org. Fellow Americans, let's face it, jury duty abuses jurors, abuses defendants, and sanctions an elite class of non-working judicial tyrants. It is time for us, the good and innocent citizens whose work actually makes our great country succeed, to end this evil. We accomplish this in 2 steps. First, we pass a Juror's Bill of Rights. The juror protections listed here should be so obvious that they should not require special legislation. But the regular tyrannies committed by our judicial officials against our jurors prove that, left to their own discretion, our judicial officials will never treat our jurors with even just the basic reason and humanity that good and innocent people deserve. In fact, freedom of speech, due process of law, and redress of grievances are already covered by our Constitution, but our court officials simply ignore our Constitution so that they can justify their demeaning and sadistic treatment of jurors. But the Juror's Bill of Rights is only a temporary measure to hold us over until we can obtain our ultimate goal. Working only part-time keeps our jurors as peers to defendants, and we can afford to pay them. Having regular jurors would allow us to fully train them, which would allow us to dismiss our judges and juror services staff, thus freeing up the money spent on their salaries, and would also reduce our number of false verdicts, thus freeing up some of the money spent on damages settlements. Automatically assigning jurors to trials would free up the money spent on juror selection. And if we still need money for juror salaries, we can reduce the number of jurors per trial. So now we understand our goals. First, a Juror's Bill of Rights, and second, a part-time professional jury. But how can we attain these goals? If legislators or human rights agencies will not help us, then we strike. Refusing to serve as jurors in court is self-jeopardizing, because then we are within our court's easy reach. Ignoring the summons is safer, because that forces our court officials to come and get us. But our safest strike is to vindicate all defendants charged with crimes less harmful to us than the crimes of jury duty itself, which are slavery, attempted murder, child endangerment, false imprisonment, theft, and assault. If none of these actions succeeds, then we refuse to vote. And if that also fails, then we refuse to work. We may suffer for our resistance, but jury duty ruins our lives anyway, so we might as well sacrifice our lives for the cause of freedom. Our Declaration of Independence and Constitution teach that liberty is more important than trial by jury, so our duty is not to serve on a jury, but to fight against tyranny. Jury duty is a worse tyranny than any of the British tyrannies in our Declaration of Independence, and those tyrannies justified our Revolutionary War against that form of government. Nature obliges us to protect our families, incomes, health, and freedom from every threat, and jury duty threatens all these, so we cannot just idly sit by while our own court so threatens us. Fellow Americans, if we work together, we can end the tyranny of jury duty and so make our country a truly happy place in which to live. Thanks for listening. Bye.